also known as Pastor John. I forgot to bring the purple tie. Some of you know what that is. Tomorrow Kings, Accusatory Music, Crystal Radio, VirgoTwins. We are here back with a sermon, a song, to discuss the song Othello's Children in the New World. Talked your ear off last time we did this. It wound up being 18 minutes. I'm not going to be before you long, as the preachers sometimes say, and they wind up being before you for 2 hours. But this is going to be a fairly quick one. So, Othello's Children in the New World. First of all, it is named after the text by Jose Pimienta Bay, Othello's Children in the New World, Moorish Identity and History, African-American experience. So in this text, the author is narrating a lot of historical material that we sometimes gloss over, or the structures of academic institutions have us not looking at. So this situation, this song is set up as two professors, one senior who's been tenured for a long time, and the other, a younger scholar who's looking to be tenured. Both are fixtures in the academic setting. So they look the part, they play the part, and they are able to survive as such. So every 4 bars, the song goes from the perspective of the senior scholar to the junior scholar. And what's happening here, and kind of what's happening in Othello's Children in the New World, is the senior professor is arguing that, well, there's certain things that the academy is hidden through the structures of the academy that need to stay hidden. And the younger scholar is saying, well, this is bullshit. There's certain information that is detrimental if it remains hidden, so why do we keep it hidden? And so there's this play that goes on. There's several types of information that come up. In the book Pimienta Bay, to even go back to the Moorish connection we were dealing with last time, Dr. Pimienta Bay is a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America and has done extensive history on the presence of those who were called Moors internally and externally throughout history. Some people understand the Moors to be people from Northern Africa who took over the region that are now Spain and Portugal and some of southern France in between the 8th and the 16th centuries. But Pimienta Bay argues that, well, if we look closer, there's evidence that people of my phenotype resided in places such as the so-called Americas way before Columbus. We're even referencing the book by Ivan van Sertima where they came before Columbus. This is not all the song deals with. The song deals with several types of cover-ups that have happened within the history of academia, this being one of them. So as we look at the ways in which information has been presented in the university setting, why is it that certain information gets attention and other information does not?
At a library, in a secret location, at Harvard University. We gotta cover it up from the ivory tower pre-Marrow. The evidence pours out of rock formations and grottos narrow. They left headgear from the west of Tabasco inherited. But if the masses knew the half, it would change our narrative. But that should expose historical records and it's fucked up, you wanna hide it. Archaeological genocide precedes deeds unrequited. For the archetype of human with pyramids and plans, straight routes and see where these shits came from.
This song deals with structure in a very, very critical way. Many of the situations within which information is disseminated in colleges and universities heavily rely on certain fixed structure that make us make certain assumptions about the information. many programs that we hold dear in colleges and universities, especially those of us who are about programs of liberation, African American studies, Latino studies, Native American studies, etc. We talked about this somewhat in the Othello video, in Unspoken, but this comes up at a structural level here, and it asks us to ask the question, well, in these certain programs and colleges and universities, what's being assumed about the information? I've heard the phrase, I've heard several people make claims such as, well, when we were brought here on the ship, or when we got off the boat, we did so and so and so and so happened, meaning that people who would become to be classified as Negro, black, colored, were all brought here on slave ships. What about the evidence that says that people who had our phenotype were here before that? What about the assertion that the Aztecs and Maya, among other nations in the region that we now refer to as Mexico, committed human sacrifice? When we know that much of that information comes from the interpretation of Spanish missionaries who didn't know what the codices were saying, what about and this is something that, of course, is not as prevalent as it was, but sometimes people still think it, that, well, the fantastic philosophical systems we see in India, those came from those who were known as the Aryans, those who went to the Indian subcontinent and brought those systems there. The Aryan hypothesis, as it's known, which, as I said, is not necessarily held by everyone today, but those ideas still resonate. Well, that had to come. Well, it couldn't have come from those people.
The evidence of Aztec sacrifice is shaky at best. You sold a colonizer's story as a true sin from the West. If they answer the Maya were peaceful, they'd flunk your test. Especially when they talk of the Oaxaca and the offset. Oh, no, don't say that. They would get rambunctious if we reveal the American Africans who came before Columbus. And at the end, this valley was never invaded by Aryans. And the U.S. doesn't really exist, but leaders are still swearing in. Is this why Rashidi Unbat?
So I think it's also important to talk about, really quickly, and I'll be done in a minute this time. It's really important to talk about the title of the text, Othello's Children in the New World. Of course, we know that Othello is the name of one of William Shakespeare's most famous plays that focuses on the life of Othello, who is a Moor who resides in the Venetian regions and takes a wife from this region and is a high official in the army. And there's a person who's very close to him who winds up becoming jealous of him, his situation, his ancestry, and his wife. Now, it's said that Othello is depicted to be somewhat ashamed of his own history. He converts to Christianity and does other things that cause him to assimilate with what is going on in the region he's in at the time. So this person who's jealous of him causes him to think his wife is cheating on him, and he winds up killing his wife because of this. And so the reason that Dr. Pimienta Bay uses Othello as a symbol is because he's referencing what it means to lose sight of yourself. And he's arguing, have we lost sight of ourselves? And he's referring to specific people, but I'm using this metaphor to ask, well, how have all of us lost sight of ourselves through the structures that the academy is set up for us to look through?